Let's check in on the situation in New South Wales, where residents on the south coast who have decided to stay and defend their properties against advice are battling the conditions this morning. Live now to Julia Bradley at the Nowra stage grounds. Julia, the Currowan blaze is still of major concern.
That's right, Annalise. We're currently seeing this blaze burning at a Watch and Act level warning. We are really seeing resources being thrown at this fire, given the sheer amount of land that it's already ripped through, more than 260,000 hectares. So we are seeing resources being thrown at this blaze this morning because of the sheer amount of land it really covers from right up here in Nowra and further south, stretching really close to that Victorian border. So we are seeing people here today start to strengthen their resources, and we've got a considerable amount of firefighters tackling that blaze at the moment. And further south, we are really having concerns at the moment for those residents that are still stuck there. We're going to start to see the road closures continue, especially on areas like the Princess Highway, as authorities start to deem the conditions simply too risky. So in the past 48 hours, we've seen that mass exodus of thousands of holiday makers from that dangerous bushfire zone really continue. We've seen an uptick in the supply that has been sent down into that area for those that have decided to stay. And I spoke to a man in his 70s from Bateman's Bay, and he said that he is determined to stay and defend his property, even though his son's home burnt to the ground on New Year's Eve.
On the 31st day, it really blew his mind. He just, I don't know what he didn't know what he was feeling or anything. He was just numb. His legs were jelly, and it's just terrible.
It was just a big black glowing, and it went right over the top. It felt like the sky was going to come on top of you. You could touch it nearly.
So the current advice from the Rural Fire Service is that it is starting to become too unsafe for people to now leave the south coast. They're advising that the safest areas will be evacuation centres and beaches in the area. And we are going to see temperatures really start to heat up here. Nowra, it could break its January or even its all-time record for temperature. And we're going to start to see that southerly wind change affect areas like Bega late this afternoon and Nowra by this evening.
To Samantha Chiari at the New South Wales RFS headquarters. Sam, more than 100 fires are burning across the state.
And half of those are not yet contained, Annalise. Now, in the last hour, we've had 7 Watch and Acts issued for New South Wales as bushfires continue to burn out of control across the state. Now, conditions are starting to deteriorate, particularly on that south coast of New South Wales, where bushfires devastated on New Year's Eve. In terms of the weather conditions, we're already experiencing temperatures of over 30 degrees in these areas, and winds are starting to pick up. Earlier, we heard from Premier Gladys Berejiklian and New South Wales Rural Fire Services Commissioner Shane Fitzsimmons on what we can expect today in terms of the conditions and, of course, how prepared the state is for this catastrophic day.
But whatever the case, we are going to have a long day dominated by hot temperatures, dry atmosphere and winds coming out of the ranges. We're talking 40, 50, gusting 60 to 70 kilometres an hour from the west and northwest, and then the southerly change that's coming through, particularly along the coastal strip where a lot of these fires and these at-risk communities are. We're expecting those southerly strengths to be somewhere up around 80 kilometres an hour with their gusting. So it's going to make for a very dangerous day. It's going to make for very volatile fire grounds, very dangerous fire grounds, and all that is in the path of those fires.
Never been as prepared as we are today for the onslaught we're likely to face due to the deteriorating weather conditions. We will have in excess of 3,000 personnel on the ground throughout the state. That's the largest number we've ever had, including 31 strike teams.
And Sam, New South Wales Emergency Services... Sorry, Sam, didn't mean to talk over you there, but we did want to check in about what's happening with the Emergency Services Minister, David Elliott. He's finally returned from his holiday after facing a lot of criticism over the last week.
Annalise, he arrived back here at New South Wales Rural Fire Services late last night. He was briefed, of course, by the authorities here in regards to this catastrophic day ahead for emergency personnel, firefighters and, of course, residents right across New South Wales. Now, he did face a wave of criticism, as you mentioned, for continuing to stay on holiday in the last week or so when this bushfire crisis really heightened in New South Wales. I mean, this week alone we've had over 400 homes lost on the south coast and the devastating loss of life as well. Now, he said it was his job to stand up, not stand down.
I came back to step up, not step down.
He'll be here throughout the day, Annalise, with our emergency services, fire authorities and personnel on the ground tracking what is set to be one of the worst fire weather days so far this season. Now, in terms of the cool change, it is forecast to hit Bega on the south coast around 5 p.m. This is really bad news for fire authorities and firefighting efforts, given that the cool change isn't hitting late. It's predicted to be around 6 to 7 hours later than conditions we saw on New Year's Eve. And of course, we all know what happened on New Year's Eve with over 400 homes lost on the south coast. Now, extreme fire danger has been forecast today for the southern ranges, the Illawarra and also the Shoalhaven. If a bushfire starts in this region, of course, they'll be difficult to control and hard to predict. Authorities here are on high alert and, of course, conditions are already starting to deteriorate with 7 watch and acts in place.